Hello, everyone. Welcome back for those of you that are just on with the Bible study. Um, and for those of you who weren't, if you're just coming back on and you weren't in the Bible study, then welcome back to the fellowship. Um, I talked about a few things last week, and among those things were some of the activity of uh, the current leader of the organization. And many individuals have been talking about his whereabouts pertaining to where he's been recently um, and what may be going on. We know that, as stated on last week, um, it was in Atlanta, Georgia. And from Atlanta, Georgia, this was, I believe, 3 weeks ago, um, that Sunday. For a few minutes, from there, it popped up in Dorada a few days later in North Carolina. But what was interesting is not 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks. Um, but what's interesting is last week um, that he had popped up in Miami, Florida, and individuals were inquiring and asking, well, what's going on because this is actually unheard of. Um, we know that Miami, Florida, the trip to Miami, Florida is coming up in about 2 weeks that they're going to be going there anyway. Hello, everyone. Um, and good, great afternoon to you as well, B. Mevderman. Um, Glad you're able to make it. But yes, um, it went down to Miami last Sunday. Again, people are saying this is strange and questions in regards to what is it that's going on. But then a stop was made in Columbia, South Carolina on last Thursday night. Um, and this is not for the full service, it's just a few minutes he's there. And we have the recording. The recording, he spoke for maybe 6 minutes. And one of the things that was said is, I stopped by to say hello. And some of the individuals are saying that this just is not making sense. Um, to have pop ups, no one is expecting you, no advance notification that you're coming. It's not, the visit is not on schedule. Um, but then to come without the entourage, without the guards, without the staff, without the wife, without Mrs. Madison. Um, and we talked about last week, someone had brought up the question, while he's down in Miami, his wife is in Virginia. And they also asked about, why is she putting the Raggedy Ann doll on Daddy's Club? Again, none of this is making sense. So for him to be in Columbia, South Carolina, um, how I got over says, after this fellowship, he will stop popping up. We maybe uh, you would think perhaps, um, but the question, it is interesting that people are asking and wondering, because this has not been done before. Uh, they just got back from Los Angeles, and people got back from LA, and they're resting. That very first weekend after Los Angeles, his wife was out in 6th and M Street for about 3 hours or so. While she's there, he's in Atlanta, Georgia. Now you just got back to DC. Why are you not resting? Most of the time before, they would be at Portal Drive, or just if you're going to pop up, you'd pop up in Washington. And in the recording, he said that I had Atlanta on my mind, and we've been preparing this trip. Again, people saying it doesn't make sense because he was only there for a few minutes. Did you leave DC to go past Maryland, past Virginia, past North Carolina, past South Carolina, and into Atlanta, Georgia, to go to service that Sunday morning for 20 minutes? Did you drive down there to go to service for 20 minutes without your entourage, with just a handful of people? It just simply doesn't make sense. And then to pop up in Dorada in North Carolina, Charlotte, the few days later, only to be now Charlotte, you came back up from Georgia to come up to Charlotte area and pop up in Dorada. But then to go down past Georgia again to Miami, Florida, when you're going to be there in 3 weeks, it just does not make sense. I have to say, I have no idea. Individuals asking, what do we think is going on? Your guess is as good as mine. This has never happened before. It's never taken place while he's traveling and popping up in different places, only for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then out the door. All I know is, are you driving all these hours to cross all these states to go into a house of prayer because you're thinking about them? He said that I had Miami on my mind, Columbia on my mind, Georgia on my mind. Okay, but you're passing all these other states to pop up there for just a few minutes. Are you literally there for all these days away from Washington to be there for 10, 15, 20 minutes? Did you take that trip? Are you on the road in these hotels in all these different cities for days at a time? Are you 3 or 4 weeks away from DC on the highway, popping up in places where nobody's expecting you? Are you there because these cities, you have them on your mind? It just doesn't make sense. And while he's there, your wife is in Virginia and popping up also another, for Mrs. Madison to not be aware what you're doing, where you're going, and for her not to be in your company, to not have the guards with you, to not have the staff, none of the councilmen traveling. It just doesn't make sense. So for those of you who are asking and inquiring, your guess is as good as mine. I absolutely don't know what to tell you. We just know it's happening. We know that this coming week, he's scheduled to be up north. And even with that, people saying it does not make sense. Saturday and Sunday. After this week, next weekend, he's scheduled to be in DC for Saturday and Sunday. And then the weekend following that is where we're scheduled for individuals to know that he's going to be in Miami. Normally, after Miami, there's several stops being made on your way, transitioning back up north to Washington again. And so, hey, hello again. So again, it just doesn't make, it's not making any sense. So that on top of the timeline for these other cities to be coming up for his visit. We know once again, there's this thing called Southern Tour now, where he'll be making his way up from Miami. You're going to be down there anyway in Georgia. Why are you there now? You're going to be in South Carolina anyway. Why are you there now? You're going to be in Miami anyway. You're going to be popping up or stopping in North Carolina. Why are you in Dorada? People are saying none of it is making sense. So while we were here on yesterday in the Bible study, I got a notification from someone that he was in Charlotte. And even that, again, people saying does not make sense. We know that Lenny Jackson's services were being held in Washington. For those who are not aware, Lenny Jackson has passed. The individual that you all may have known who sold a lot of the products as well as the literature, CDs, DVDs, and traveled all over out of Washington, D.C. has passed. They had his services on yesterday. The question was, why would he not be there if Lenny was one of his former members? But instead of being there in a very, very prominently well-known members' services, in fact, some people who were going to be in Charlotte yesterday canceled their trip um, so that they could be there for his services. Lenny, very, very, like I said, well known, very popular, well beloved, very beloved individual. I loved him myself. We were very, very close. Every time we saw each other, we had nothing but kind words to say, and we enjoyed each other's conversation. It was a shock to me that he had passed. Another individual whose services are coming up also. Good evening. Good evening. Halsey, for those of you who are not aware, he passed. Same thing, nothing but love, admiration, and respect for him. He was known for singing around the organization for several years with a group, the Sons of Grace. But again, it just didn't make sense that he was not there for Lenny's services, but he popped up in Charlotte at an anniversary of one of the auxiliaries. And people, I don't want to speculate, but it looks like what people are saying, there may be some strength to that. Many people have began to say it looks like he's doing everything he can to stay outside of Washington, that he doesn't want to be in DC. He's been on the road since they returned from LA, and he's been all over the place other than DC. It's like he does not want to be in Washington. And for those individuals who have said also prior to Los Angeles, he was doing the same thing. He's all over the place, staying out of Washington, D.C. I have to say, it does appear that there might be some validity to that. I don't know. But what we do know is that there's not a lot of conversation. There's not a lot of answers going out to the people, the members of the organization. I don't know. We'll see what happens this week as he makes his way up north again. I've been told that there was an itinerary. I do have a couple of the itineraries of upcoming stops. And the expectation is that another one is going to be released in a few more days for other houses that he's going to be visiting and adding to his schedule. It's also been said that he's going to be going back to Los Angeles in the upcoming weeks ahead. And people, again, are saying none of this makes any sense. You just got back from Los Angeles. Why would you add to your itinerary to get ready to go back out there? And people are saying that it's just a money grab. It's just going around to grab money. I can't say that there's validity to that because these pop-ups, he's not taking reports from the pastors. The pastors are not being expected to make reports. The only time that happens is if he's scheduled to be there for a service. During these pop-ups, it's not even a service at all. The houses are there having their services. You may have 10, 11, 12, 15 people present. And he'll just come in through the door and surprise everybody. Surprise. Um, and the recordings you hear, they're happy, but again, it's just out of nowhere. um, so we don't know, and we're also waiting to hear more. Um, for those of you who have been waiting for the Sunday school books have been out now for a few weeks. Um, I was surprised to also learn that in order to get a Sunday school book, the pastors are writing down your names. If you want a Sunday school book, they're documenting um, and taking down your names. And many members were asking, what is that about? I don't know. Um, I was told that pastors are also now keeping a record of individuals who are not paying love gift, and they're keeping a record of individuals that's not paying G class. Um, and this we talked about a few weeks ago. That's not so new, but some members are now hearing about it. So um, people are calling, texting, emailing as they hear certain things. With that said, um, the Sunday school books again are out and they're weird. Uh, Quite frankly, these are the strangest Sunday school books I've ever seen in all my years in the organization. Um, I won't touch on it yet. I won't talk about it yet. Um, but for those of you who haven't seen it yet, you want to grab the Sunday school book. It is, you want to grab the Sunday school book. Um, when you get the Sunday school book and start going through it, it's unlike any other Sunday school book that you've seen in the organization thus far. Um, but again, I'm not going to go there as of yet. Regarding last week, we talked about also how the organization is governed. Um, I had shared with you all that the better portion of the organization, unfortunately, is not aware of how the organization is governed. We know that the Constitution is supposed to um, be what governs the organization. And as such, there's been questions regarding the importance of the Constitution. There's been questions regarding the order of the books that are used in the organization. In the later version of the Constitution, 2022, what you'll find is an order of precedence in the first few pages. And that shows that if there's questions pertaining to resolutions about a problem, that those problems would be resolved uh, according to this order of precedence. And the order is the Constitution is to be followed first or enforced, and then the supreme law, and then the auxiliary bylaws. Um, the biggest question that others may have had is, well, where does the Are You Aware come in? Because if you are a member of the organization, then you are aware of the fact that the organization follows a booklet called the Are You Aware? And the Are You Aware is used for pastors, officers, and members. So, with that said, there's right now 30 some pages, if I'm not mistaken, of my last copy, 2023, um, of laws, rules, instructions that the members of the entire organization are to follow. The problem is it's nowhere on the cover or on the inside. For those of you who are asking about that booklet being a governing document. So if your question is, um, does the Are You Aware govern the organization? The answer is twofold. Quite frankly, yes, the organization is currently and has been for many, many years governed by the information and the details inside of the Are You Aware. Um, the challenge there is that it's nothing that says that the Are You Aware is a governing document. So if the question were asked, um, do the people have any say so pertaining to the Are You Aware? Well, then the answer is, quite frankly, no, they don't. Do the people have any input in the Are You Aware? And the answer is no, they don't. Does the people have any um, thing that they can do to change, um, to modify, or do anything with the Are You Aware? And again, the answer is no. So when it comes to who wrote it, the people didn't write it. The people had nothing to do with it, but they're being told to abide by it. And this is the beginning of what we were talking about last week pertaining to how the organization has been governed over the years. So, with this in mind, if you look at the governing documents, we have the Constitution, which clearly states that this is for the governing of the organization. And we know that as any other institution. Um, the Supreme bylaws, which is for the governing of the organization, and the auxiliary bylaws, which is for the government of the auxiliaries. These are used as governing documents. But another problem here that many people have uh, seen and even questioned is, does the people have any say so pertaining to the auxiliary bylaws or the supreme bylaws? Um, does the people have any input in the auxiliary bylaws and the supreme uh, bylaws? And the answer is no, they don't. The people don't have any say so. The people have no input. Um, and there's no questions asked pertaining to the orchestration of the supreme laws and the auxiliary bylaws. And what makes it even more interesting is for those of you asking questions about the Constitution. Well, if the Constitution has been written and it's been printed prior to the dates of the General Assembly, if the Constitution has been put out before the General Assembly was even held, well, then are the people held to the laws in the Constitution? And that's a very valid question. Do the people have to abide by the laws in the Constitution if the Constitution was printed up and all of those amendments were placed in the Constitution before the actual date of the General Assembly? If you see that the Constitution has the dates printed inside of the General Assembly, along with the amendments already printed in the Constitution, and that the leader has signed off on it, the General Assembly secretary signed off on it, then how can anybody say that the Constitution is valid and has been amended by the people? Can it be said that the Constitution is no longer valid. And that too is a valid question. And what I'm saying is that it appears that the Constitution was never valid. It appears as if the Constitution, when you look at them, when you look at the Constitution uh, going back over all of the constitutions that we have, when people are checking those dates and they're finding that the Constitution was printed days or weeks before the General Assembly, and that the amendments that were voted on in the General Assembly were already printed inside the Constitution, and it is stated that the people overwhelmingly voted to approve the amendments. Well, then again, it's a valid question when people say, well, how could the Constitution be valid if it was already put together before they even had the meeting? It shows that the people were never a part of the process. It appears that individuals were putting things together without the people being involved at all. And by that appearance, then by very definition, the Constitution would not be valid. Now, we cannot state that you don't have to abide by the Constitution. We can't tell you that. We're not telling you that. But the people who's asking the question in regards to the Constitution is a valid question. Giovanni Johnson says the Constitution is valid because the bishop is the supreme, just like Moses got the laws from God. That's a very, very, very good point. And a lot of the members within the organization, for many, many years, held on to what you just said. However, the people throughout the organization were not taught that, and I just don't want you all to see a glare in my glasses. The people throughout the organization were not taught that the law of the land supersedes the law of any organization. Now, what that means is whether the people inside any institution believe in the leader, the teacher, the principal, the manager, the any title that you give, the supervisor, right? That person is okay for the people to follow them and carry out their instructions. But what is not okay is for anybody to write rules or laws for people to abide by and then enforce those laws if the people did not agree to those laws. So what that means is this. In the scripture, we know that Moses was given these things by the Father, by the Creator. He was commanded to take these things and give it to the people. The people had no say-so whatsoever over the laws that was given to Moses that came from the Creator. The difference here is according to the Constitution, The people have say so over the Constitution. According to the Constitution, the members of the organization can change the Constitution. According to the Constitution, the people have authority to modify the Constitution. And according to the Constitution, nobody else can change the Constitution. So, what I'm saying is that it is a valid question for people to ask whether or not the Constitution is valid if you see inside the Constitution that it was printed up before you had a meeting, before the meeting even arrived, when people who are supposed to vote on these rules being changed, if the people never voted and those changes were already made, and those changes are now inside the printed Constitution, and then the people come to this meeting and have a vote, the question that was asked is the Constitution then valid if the changes were made before the people even got there? And that's what makes it a valid question. According to the law of the land, it would seem, if that was done, that the Constitution is not valid. And the law of the land is not going to say that the pastor or the chairman or the councilman or the bishop or anybody else for that matter, if they change it, then it's okay. The law of the land will not say that, because the Constitution itself does not allow for that to happen. The Constitution itself says nobody can change it except the people. So if the Constitution was changed before the people had a meeting, if the Constitution had been amended and changed and things added to it or removed from it, and the people had no involvement in it, then the way that the law looks at that is that it is not a valid Constitution. Nobody can go to the law of the land and make the claim that what you just said, that it's valid because the leader is the supreme. Nobody would be able to make that argument, which is why people are asking the question, well, can the supreme come forward and have a meeting about these situations? Can the supreme come forward and fix anything that the people are saying needs to be fixed? Can the council come forward and hold a meeting so that we can amend or rectify or modify or change whatever needs to be changed with the Constitution? And these are all very valid questions. Can the council come together to fix it? According to the Constitution, no, they can't. Can the leader come together and fix this? According to the Constitution, he can't. It seems that the only way that this can be fixed is that the people go back to another General Assembly and they have to fix it. They have to ask questions about it. They have to inquire. They have to look into whether or not this Constitution is a valid Constitution. And the answers to the other questions, well, what about the other constitutions before it? Well, those constitutions would be invalid too if they were changed the same way. And the Constitution has language in it that says each of these constitutions were all changed the same way without the people having a meeting. Now, I'm only answering the questions based on the information in the constitutions. You all will see this is not me saying this. This is not me making this up. This is not me stirring up anything. The questions quite simply are whether or not they're valid. And if they were put together and assembled and printed before the people actually had their meeting, then according to the law of the land, they're not valid because they were done without the people's consent. So, based on what you just said, Giovanni, the Constitution being valid because the bishop is the supreme, like Moses got the laws from God, what I'm sharing with you is that the law of the land, they will not agree with that statement. The law of the land only looks at what's in black and white. The law of the land is going to say, well, let me read what you have. And when they read what's inside the Constitution, they're not going to hear me. They're not going to hear the council. The law of the land is not going to hear our pastors. The law of the land is not going to hear from us, the people. The law of the land, excuse me, the law of the land will ask, let's see the Constitution. So when they read the actual Constitution, when they get to the section that says the Constitution can only be changed a certain way, if the law of the land sees that the Constitution was not changed that way, then the law of the land will rule that the Constitution is not valid. And they will then issue an order. So again, we're answering the question from the members. Is it valid if they were printed with the changes before these meetings were held? And so again, according to the language inside the constitutions, what I'm saying is it appears, and I have to put it that way, because I'm not the one that makes that deciding, that final decision. I'm not the deciding factor. I'm only sharing with you all what it appears as in black and white. And it's clearly written that the constitutions were printed with the changes before the actual meeting was held. And if the law of the land find that statement to be true, then they will determine that the Constitution not only is invalid, but they will investigate how this happened. And they will go from there. So, to answer the members' questions, everything in the Constitution says that it was not done the way that the law says it's supposed to be done. So Golden Boy says, Giovanni Johnson, not true. Got to read the Constitution. It does not say that at all. And that's true. The Constitution does not say that the bishop is the supreme, like Moses, and he got the laws from God. Keep in mind, the people are not coming together every year for the assembly to give honor to the laws and the Constitution that came from God. Nobody in the organization is of the impression that the Constitution came from God. Everyone, to my knowledge, 40 plus years, has been of the impression that the Constitution is written, changed, amended, or modified by all the members of the organization. And that's what makes it legal. The problem for some people who's looking at the Constitution now is that what they're reading in the Constitution looks like the people never had any involvement in the changing of the laws in the Constitution. And what I'm saying is those people would be accurately saying what they're saying. Because when you look at the Constitution, if you read it, you will see that what it says needs to be done to change the Constitution or amend it. You'll see that that's not what took place according to the information in the Constitution. So if, like Golden Boy say, if you read it, if you read the Constitution, you'll see this. How I Got Over says that is not true. The people are supposed to approve it as well. And they're 100% right. The people are supposed to, according to the laws of the land, and this is what anybody who disagrees with what I'm saying, make sure you understand what I'm saying. The people, since you are the ones who these laws are going to apply to, you have to be the ones to say that, no, I agree with these laws. And when we vote, what you're saying is, I don't mind these laws being enforced. I will abide by them. But if you never had that opportunity to vote on the laws, if you never had the opportunity to read and talk about and discuss the laws, then the law of the land will say it's not valid. It doesn't matter that it's in black and white. What matters is that the people who you are using these laws to enforce and make them do certain things, they're in the position to say, wait a minute, we didn't have any say-so about these laws. We did not agree to, I don't know, being fined $20,000, right? And I'm exaggerating, of course. I'm just using that as an example. So Brother Lewis comes in and he's on a band, and the band doesn't do something Brother Lewis likes. Brother Lewis fined the whole band $8,000. And if y'all don't have it in 3 weeks, I'm going to sit you down, right? Well, Brother Lewis can't do that if the band never agreed to give him that authority to fine them that amount of money for that reason. So the whole law must be talked about and discussed. So the band may say, okay, well, we'll give you the authority to fine us, but we won't give you the authority to fine us for that reason. Or they may say, well, we agree that you can fine us. And we agree that you can fine us for that reason. But we will not agree that you can fine us for $8,000. Or they can say, we agree that you can fine us. We don't agree that you can fine us for that reason. We don't mind if you fine us $8,000, but you can only fine us $8,000 for that other thing, but not for this. So the people have to have conversation and say what they agree to, what they don't agree to, what they like, what they don't like, what they will do, what they will not do. It's like when you go to your job. You can't go to your job and your boss says when you come into work 5 minutes early, all of a sudden your boss is going to fine you or dock your pay for 2 weeks because you were early. Why are you going to dock my pay for 2 weeks? Well, you came in early. The boss was not expecting you to be there early. And you saw things that you weren't supposed to see because you walked up in the office early. So now they get angry and they want to take their anger out on you to keep your mouth shut about what you saw because they might have been with somebody they weren't supposed to be with. And so they're going to dock you. But then they say, keep your mouth shut. You ain't got to worry about it. But they can't do that. That's illegal. So if it's not in the handbook that you can be fined, the employee handbook, that you can be fined for coming to work early, well, your boss can't fine you for going to work early. They may tell you not to punch in, but they can't tell you not to come to work. With the Constitution, nobody can enforce a rule in a Constitution if you don't first agree to it. The people must be given the opportunity to discuss it and talk about it. Javon says, we both know that UHOP believes in one leader and that one man can do anything. Right. They do believe in one leader, and many people says that he can do anything. And I wholeheartedly agree. However, the law of the land does not agree. Not only can he not do anything, but the people can't do anything. There's something that one of our former presidents wrote. And one of the former presidents said that no one is above the law, not even a president. And then they said, especially the president. I have a copy of it as well. A presidential summary, an executive letter written by one of the former presidents. And it's true. Not even the president of the United States is above the law. The King of England, he's not above the law. There are certain rules and laws that even the King of England must abide by. He cannot just do anything he wants. So in this institution, we're not in a position or an institution or an organization where the leader can do anything he wants. Can't do it. So in the eyes of people, if you think or if you feel that I can do anything I want, then you will allow me. You will let me do anything I want. I can get anything by you and you do nothing about it because in your mind, I can do anything I want. But in the minds of others who says, no, he can't do whatever he wants, in my book, in my opinion, according to my knowledge of the law, he can't do anything he wants. Well, when that person holds that person accountable and says, well, the law does not give you the right to do whatever you feel like. Well, the law of the land, if they look into this matter, they're going to rule in favor of the person who says, you can't do what you want. Nobody has the right to do whatever they want. Even if people believe they do, they still don't have that right in the eyes of the law of the land to do whatever they want to do. The law doesn't give anybody that right. They can't do anything. Jeremy says he can until the law of the land steps in and fixes it all. In a sense, and yeah, I know what he's saying is that he can do what he wants until the law comes in. And what that means is you may be under the impression, I may be under the impression, everybody else may be under the impression that, yeah, they can do whatever they feel like. And as long as we are under that impression, they can do whatever they feel like. But when one person says, no, you can't do that. You can't build on my property and just take my property. You can't do that. If I take you to court, then the court, the law of the land, will also say he's right. You cannot just build on his property and take his land. So what he's saying is that it all looks like people can do whatever they feel until someone takes them before the law of the land, people who have authority to make a decision, say, no, you can't do this. And that's when everybody finds out, oh, wow, wait a minute. All this time they couldn't do that? Yeah. All this time they could not do that. Well, they've been getting away with, well, have they gotten away? Or was it that just that you didn't know that they couldn't do it? And this is the biggest problem. Many people are not aware that they can't do things, which is how they got the book, Are You Aware? The members have nothing to do with the Are You Aware? The members have nothing to do with the auxiliary bylaws. The members have nothing to do with the supreme laws. Those things are written outside of the will of the people. The people had no say-so. And so the question is, and this is why we're talking about this, because it's a very valid question. Does it become enforceable if the people did not agree? Does it become enforceable if the people had no say-so in it? And what they're asking is, do the people have to abide by it if the people don't have no control over it? And it's a very, very, very good question. It's a valid question. So it would be interesting what the pastors say. It would be interesting what the chairmen say. It would be interesting what the council says. It'll be interesting what the bishop says if these questions were asked to these individuals. How would you take this? How would they answer it? I guarantee you that they would tell you, no, he can't do whatever he wants. But again, the people just didn't know. He's not bigger than the law of the land, period. Right. People's beliefs have no bearing on the situation. Right. What people believe does not determine the outcome of a legal situation that falls into the hands of the law of the land, that falls in the hand of the court. When you carry something to the court, they will look at your information And that's why this whole thing is so very important. It's necessary for us to understand how this works. Because when they look at this law and see what's in black and white, the one thing they're going to ask is, well, did the people have any input in this? Did the people have a hand in this? Did the people agree to this? They're going to ask that question. And the answer will be heard, but they're not going to say, okay, well, they agreed to it, so we're going to leave it alone. No, they will still investigate more. They're going to say, okay, well, what damage does this law do? And if the law is pretty damaging to the people, to the environment, to the public, or any other damages, then the law of the land may determine, well, we cannot allow this, or they may back up. But what everybody needs to understand is just because something is put in black and white does not necessarily mean you must do what it says. Now, let me fix this. Just because something is not in black and white does not mean that you must not do what it says. There's some unwritten laws as well as written laws. But we as an entire group of people, we should be reading and doing our best to understand these laws. So more and more we have people trying to understand the law, trying to understand how it works, trying to see for themselves, what is it that I've been missing? What is it that I'm not understanding? What's going on here because I'm not getting it? I don't understand what's taking them so long. I don't understand why this problem is not being fixed. I don't understand. We have some of our facilities that have been needing some work for a while. And there are individuals who have said, I don't know what's taking so long to fix this problem. And that too is a very valid issue, because should this problem with a facility take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to fix it, there's several things that, again, people have been asking, and they're valid. So why are they asking me? Why are they asking questions on here? Why are people coming in here to listen in and to give information and to share and to ask? Because there has not been another platform for the members to go and carry these questions. The people have not been able to go to the pastors. The people have not been able to go to the chairmen. The people, they've been able to go, but what they have not seen is follow-up. Now, pastor might have been busy. Chairman might have been busy. But they have not seen opportunities where the people can come and voice concerns, where they can come and ask questions, where they can come and present problems, where they can come and hash out issues for problems to be resolved, to have disagreements heard. There is no venue for the people to do those things. So they're asking in this platform. And I'm answering to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability, and letting everybody know to go and ask those questions to the pastors, to the council, to the chairmen, even to the bishop, if possible. to see what they say. From what I see, from what I know, many are already aware that these booklets have been written and assembled and put together and printed without involvement from the people. And it's an easy fix. But I'm also saying we just need to watch and see what the regulating agencies say about the black and white, what's in writing, these documents. Um, how I got over says that is the problem. He is doing anything, but that doesn't make it right. Uh, they go on to say, just like Trump, he's doing anything he wants to do as well, but he's breaking every law there is. Now, that's a personal opinion, right? And other people will come on and also add commentary, their own personal opinion. And by that, I mean with politics, some people like what President Trump is doing. Some people don't like what President Trump is doing. Some people don't care either way what he's doing. Some people know what he's doing. Some people don't know what he's doing. But a lot of people have things that they say about our politicians. We know that that's a given. But they're saying that this particular individual in this particular organization is doing whatever he wants, but that does not make it right. And what they said is a valid point. Me, even, I can do whatever I want. I can go out and paint my name on different properties, claim them to be mine. It doesn't make it mine. And the law of the land will say that I've broken the law because it's called graffiti, destruction of other people's property. Me spray painting it, I've destroyed other people's property. You don't have to tear it down to destroy it. I've destroyed the outward appearance of it just by painting. So what I'm getting at is we need to do a better job of reading. We need to do a better job of learning. We need to do a better job of acquiring information as that information pertains to the law so that we can better help one another when it comes to understanding what things should be done by people, what things should not be done by people, what things can be done by people, what things cannot be done by people. And if we are becoming more and more aware of the law, then we would be of greater assistance to each other. But when we don't have an understanding of the law, then we actually are a burden to one another. And it can become problematic because if no one knows the law or how the law works, well, how are we going to be successful in any of our endeavors? So it's extremely important for us to understand the law. Going back to the Are You Aware, the Supreme Law, and the auxiliary bylaws, the people have no say-so over them. When you meet Memorial Day weekend, that meeting is not about the supreme laws, the auxiliary bylaws, or the Are You Aware. That meeting is only about the Constitution. That's it. But references are made from the leaders more often to the Are You Aware than anything else. Because the things that the desire is for the people to do, those things are found in the Are You Aware. They're not um, printed all over for people to easily put their finger on. And as a result of putting laws and rules in the Are You Aware that the people don't have any say so over, they can get the people to do whatever without accountability. So when people think they can do anything they want, now that explains why certain people may have been doing things that other people say they shouldn't have been doing, that other people say the law says you can't do that. And now we're in a situation, for those of you who are also asking, where the decision has to be made whether or not these things were right or whether these things were wrong. If those things were right, wash our hands, proceed. If those things were wrong, now the question is, well, what are we going to do about it? And that is the place where some people are saying we should be in. Because the question is, well, are we determining what's right and what's wrong? Some people saying, well, who cares? Others are saying, well, what do you mean? We should all care what's right or what's wrong. If we are who we say we are, then we should be all asking at least questions so that we can look at what's right, so that we can distance ourselves from what's wrong. But those questions need to be asked so that we can look after one another. Because at the end of the day, all we have is each other. So that's a very, very, very good point. Um, and a lot of us have not yet understood the need to try to understand the law. Bimevdaman, at Jeremy, that's right. The law of the land is where it stops. Right. Everything revolves around the law of the land. Everything. The law of the land gives you the authority to create your own constitution. But the law of the land says we have our own constitution. We got a constitution. But we will allow you all to write your own up if that's what you want to do. Well, who gave that authority? The law of the land. But the law of the land also gets to say, well, you can write your own constitution, but it must be written in compliance with our laws. We will give you the authority to write a constitution. We will give you the authority to write a supreme law, auxiliary bylaw, Are You Aware, whatever kind of book you want to write. We'll give you that authority as long as it is in compliance, as long as it does not step out of bounds according to our law. We give you that right. All of you all have at it. Enjoy yourselves. Have a ball. Fellowship. Have a good time. Just knock yourselves out. That's your right. You're authorized to do it. Go for it. And we can. Everybody did. But we should all be looking after each other. And how do we do that best? By trying to do what we can, all of us, to learn and understand the law. So that when you need help, I know how to help you. So that when I need help, you know how to help me. Where would we all be if nobody had a cell phone and we needed help? If nobody had a landline and you need help, how are you going to call the police if nobody has a telephone? If there's an emergency, how are you going to call a paramedic? If there's a fire, how are you going to call a fire? And this is what I'm saying we should be more focused on, not on what I like versus what you like. We should be focused on loving one another. Um, Good evening, Black Diamonds. Good evening. Giovanni, church and state, church versus state. Absolutely, Giovanni. And yes, 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 yes. This is another valid point. The church versus the state is a valid point. The church is not touched by the state. The state says hands off. No, we don't do that. That's the church. No, 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 no. We're not going to worry about that. That's the church. But you need, no, 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 no. That's the church. We don't get involved in church affairs. We keep our distance. That's the church. And you're 100% correct. Until when it becomes obvious or when it is reported or when somebody alerts the authorities, the law of the land, and says, wait a minute, foul on the play. When somebody tells the law of the land that something is fishy, it doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that somebody doing anything wrong. Even calling 911, you don't have to be a witness to a crime to call 911. You don't even have to know anything about a crime to call 911. Some people call 911 for police to come and do a wellness check, right? Somebody I was talking to not too long ago, there's children left in the home. And they saw children were there. Well, they asked the police to go and do a wellness check, to check on the children, to make sure that everything is fine. They are servants of the public, and they are supposed to serve the public trust. So people can call them without a crime. Are you reporting? No, no, no. I see some children over here, and it looks like they've been home alone for the last 2 days. Can y'all send a police officer to do a wellness check? They'll get up and go. Anybody can call outside to check. You don't even have to see a crime. But if the police get there and they see a crime, now there's a problem. If they get there and they don't see a crime, they're not going to be upset. They're not going to be mad. They know that this is their job. Sometimes you find stuff wrong. Sometimes you don't. The hope is that you're not going to find anything wrong. So this is how we help one another, by knowing the law. We have other people right now, people being pulled over, people standing there with a cell phone, videoing whatever the police are doing. Why? They might need it to help. B. Mevdeman says, doesn't the bishop's wife hold a head position over maintenance department in DC? See? Okay. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that a conflict of interest also? Yeah. It would seem that she is still in that position. So there was once upon a time where she did have oversight of or authority over the maintenance department. At some point in time, I believe she became, or she was appointed manager. I've not heard of this position being removed or taken. I'm not aware of her relinquishing that position or that authority. Um, we've seen individuals hold positions in authority, of authority for quite some time, and yet they were conflicting positions. We've seen men hold several positions, and they were conflict of interest. But yes, it appears that that position has not been removed. And in the event that she still is serving in that capacity, then that's a huge conflict of interest, in my opinion. Um, and as the individual sitting in the seat that she sits in, as uh, the first wife of the organization, um, should she be in that position? And again, the answer, in my opinion, is no. Um, with that in mind, those changes would be made by the leader, um, but even that would become a conflict of interest in the event that he does not get involved or make a decision with that one way or the other. That's a huge conflict of interest. And thank you for that. How I got over says Debbie used to manage the maintenance office, but she does not do that anymore. Okay, well, there we go. Um, I don't know who that's been turned over to, but I'm glad to hear and see that that was actually taken care of. Because, again, that would be a huge conflict of interest. Um, on that note, pertaining to the son, it's been said that the son is the manager of the cafeteria there at 6 and M Street. Um, if the son is the manager there, then the same thing. That would be a conflict of interest. Once you become um, the person behind the wheel, then all of the responsibility is going to be on your shoulders for anything and everything that happens. Anything and everything. So, because his son is his son, the likelihood is for him to serve in any capacity would also become a conflict of interest. And for him to be the manager over the cafeteria, again, also becomes a red flag, and he should not be in that position, according to my opinion. Those things will more than likely come up again, but yes, conflict of interest. Giovanni says, when we took our oath in the military, we agreed to the language to the oath we took. Even though they were in place before we joined the military, we didn't vote on those languages in the oath. And that is absolutely true. Absolutely true. The difference in this particular situation is that the members have not taken an oath to abide by these manuals. The members did not swear that they would abide by or be conducted by these documents. Um, if they did take that oath, then that would change the ballgame. But because the members did not do what we did in the military, swore and took an oath to do X, Y, Z, now we're held accountable to our oath. You can enforce it. You can mandate that we do certain things because you took an oath, but the members never took an oath. So because the members did not take an oath, because the members did not have say so in XYZ, because the members did not do anything to place themselves under the yoke or in the position to have these rules enforced upon them, then you can't really hold them accountable to those rules. But that's a very, very good point. A very good point. Even though they were in place before joining the military, when you come in, you say, I swear to do this, to do that, and they're there. I didn't have nothing to do with it. Yeah, you're putting yourself in that situation to be bound to those rules. But members who had no knowledge of these rules, and even though rules were written before the members even joined or came, if they never raised their hand and said, I swear to bind myself to blah, 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 then you can't enforce those rules on the people. How I got over says Mr. Don Thompson's son is the manager over the maintenance office. Malachi is the cook, and Alicia Lewis is the manager over the cafeteria. Okay. That's interesting. So as long as there is no governing authority in any of the positions where a family member of the pastor, the chairman, the councilman, the leader, as long as there's no family member in positions of government, then it would seem to be okay. However, even to claim anything pertaining to these titles and these positions, it's a conflict of interest. It's a contradiction. So if you're in a position of authority, if you're in the biggest position, should your family members be in another position that holds authority as well, is the question. And what I'm saying is that sounds like it would be a huge conflict of interest. There's some companies that do have family members scattered around, and it's legitimate. And the people approve it. That's okay. It's 100% fine. It's okay for his wife to have a position as long as the people approve it. It's okay for his son to have a position of authority as long as the people approve it. It's okay as long as the people don't mind it, as long as the structure is set up where you can see transparency, there's nothing going on in the dark, all of that is fine but the problem has been, what about the if? We haven't seen the if. If this is in place, if this happens, if the rules say such and such, we haven't seen it. Therefore, people know that something is a little wrong here, it looks like. And so it's okay to ask questions. And this is why I'm saying again, it would be interesting to hear what these individuals say about these different things, these issues. Get coffee. No, I was just thinking about something at the moment. But again, here's what everyone needs to understand. We have one manual that the people have any say so over. We have one manual that the people has input in. We have one document that the people are involved in. And what I'm saying, to answer all of your questions about the books, which manual do the members have say so over? And that is the Constitution. Only one. But when you take a look at the Constitution, what you will find is that the Constitution was written without the people's involvement, according to what it seems inside the Constitution. So that question again becomes valid. Is it valid if the people had no involvement in it? And it would be interesting to have these questions asked to the pastors, to the chairmen, to the councilmen, to the bishop. Now, getting back to what we talked about last week, if there's only one book that the people have any involvement in, and that's the Constitution, then the other question that's very, very valid is there anything that can be done by the people concerning these other books? If we have 3 other books that the people must follow, and the people have no say so over, the people have no input in, the people are not involved, then should the people do anything about those books? My opinion, for those of you who are asking that question, is yes, 100%. Absolutely. Because if you are being mandated to follow these books, we're going to use these books and enforce these laws on you. Well, how can you do that if I don't give you my approval? And this is where the law of the land comes in. How can you enforce on me rules that I don't know nothing about or that I had no say-so in? And this has been an issue. So, next question is, well, how can the people do anything about those books? Well, those people, the people, would have to call the books into question. How do you call the books into question? You have to raise those questions with leaders and allow the leaders the opportunity to fix or change those books and how they're being used, or open up the door to allow the people to come into the place where the meeting's being held so that the people have a voice and say so over these books. The other thing is the supreme law, the auxiliary law, is mentioned in the Constitution, but the Are You Aware is not. Yet the Are You Aware is the most referred to book out of all the books. The Are You Aware is the biggest book out of all the books. The Are You Aware has the most rules and the most laws out of all the books. The Are You Aware has the most procedures and most policies. And yet the people don't have any involvement or say so over the Are You Aware? Well, what do you do about that? You have to introduce it to the pastors, the chairmen, councilmen and bishops to see what they say and which direction they're going to go. Giovanni says, oh, Brother Perry, go Navy. Thank you, sir. Navy, yes, sir. Giovanni says, define the people members, the people supreme, the people councilmen. Okay. The people are the members that make up the organization, which is why, let me get it for you. The people make up the organization. And I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to actually show you. Okay. The people. Here you have an are you aware? And it's a question. Are you aware? And you see, it says for pastors, officers, and members. Right? The United House of Prayer for All People, May 2023. Now, it doesn't say anything at all. It says nothing whatsoever about governing. It says nothing. These two books Supreme Laws for the Government of the United House of Prayer for All People. Auxiliary Bylaws and Regulations for the governing of the auxiliaries. The Constitution. Inside the Constitution and bylaws, I'm going to read it verbatim. Promulgated and proclaimed to be the Constitution and bylaws for the government of the United House of Prayer for All People of the Church on the Rock of the Apostolic Faith. This book says it is for the government of the organization. This book says it is for the government of the organization. This book says it is for the government of the auxiliaries, the clubs of the organization. This book says nothing about government. When you open it up, it immediately goes into rules, laws, statutes, policy, and procedure. But it says nothing about governing the organization. But we see over and over and over and over and over again, reference after reference after reference after reference being made to this book. And in the Constitution, it calls for order of precedence. Order of precedence. And it says they should be resolved by the following order of precedence: the Constitution and bylaws, the supreme laws here, and the auxiliary bylaws. But it says nothing about the Are You Aware? So for those of you who have questions, how did we get this? And why is it so thick? Why is it page after page after page after page after page after page after page of all these rules? And this one has 55 pages. And it's a lot bigger and has a whole lot more writing on each page, with references being drawn to this book. What I'm saying to answer the questions, it appears as if this book is not being used. It appears as if this book is not being used. It appears as if this book is not being used. And when we look at letters coming from headquarters, those letters are addressed to, answer your question, the people. The people are all the members. That's the definition, the people. The people supreme, that refers to the one sitting at the top, one person. The people councilman, that refers to a group of men according to the supreme laws. And let's see what group of men this is. The General Council, Article 1, which is the highest ecclesiastical court of this organization. Section A, the General Council of the United House of Prayer for All People of the Church on the Rock of the Apostolic Faith. This General Council is made up of, Section B, officers that is a judge, assistant judge, governing attorney, assistant governing attorney, recording secretary, financial secretary, treasurer, financial checkers, property checkers, grievance committee, chaplain, sheriff, and deputy sheriffs. 13 different titles on the General Council, made up of Section C. Men who are appointed by one person. Either they're there by the appointment of one person, or they became a councilman by becoming a chairman. And the only way you can become a chairman is you must first be a pastor. And every pastor is subject, according to the supreme laws and the Constitution, the one person. So what it looks like is that this is a group of men who are appointed by one person. And this group of men who are appointed by one person are given roles, responsibilities, and tasks to carry out in the organization. And this same group of men are constantly called on to carry out orders and orders and orders and orders. And that same group of men we hear about in the supreme laws, the Constitution, the Are You Aware? And we hear about from letters coming from the one person all year round. I'm going to check on the council to enforce this. I will refer to the council to look into this. I will call on the council to take care of this. We're going to put this in the hands of the council. Why over and over and over and over and over are references being drawn to the council when one person appoints, but not only appoints, look at what else it says. That he has the right to appoint, section C, appoint, change, or remove. Appoint, change, or remove. Now, someone else asked, if all these persons on this group of the highest ecclesiastical body are all being appointed by, or they can be removed by the same person, then is it not fair to say that they work for him? Well, if you go back to section A, it says the General Council of the House of Prayer for all people of the Church on the Rock of the Apostles' Feet. I'll let you see it. Okay? Right here. And what it says is set forth to protect the work of this organization and its leader. The group of men who's going to serve in the highest body of the entire organization are appointed or allowed by one person. So when we see order after order after order going to them, going to them, going to them, going to them, the person who said it looks like that they're working for, well, I would have to agree. But I don't agree because that's what it's looking like. I agree because that's what the law says. They work for him. So now there's a bigger problem. Because when you go back to this book, a bigger problem, someone also says, is that the General Assembly supposed to have a secretary that is elected by the people. But it's been said that the people don't elect the secretary, nor do they elect the assistant. And out of the times I've been there, I have to say, this is accurate. This is true. They don't elect them. Well, then the question remains to be asked, who does elect them? Well, the biggest person in the secretary in the General Assembly that's held every year is the secretary. Some would say, well, that's not so. It's the one who presides over it. Well, I'm looking at this thing from a business perspective. And when it comes to the General Assembly, if there is no uh, CEO, if the office is empty, well, whose job is it to fill that office? That's the job of the General Assembly. Their job is to put somebody there. Their job is to hire what we call a CEO. And businesses around the world have a CEO, and the board of directors fill that seat. The person that's at the head of the board of directors is the chairman of the board, and they work along with the board. And the board works for the people. The General Assembly is supposed to work for the people because it's made up by delegates who were chosen by the people to represent who? The people. So when you get to the General Assembly, the delegates are supposed to represent the members back home. The pastors of every congregation, when they go to the General Assembly, they're supposed to also be a representative of the congregations back home. But each year, when the people go to the General Assembly, for the person who said, well, doesn't the council run the General Assembly? There's nowhere in the Constitution that says that about the council. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives the council a place in the General Assembly. Every man on the council that's a pastor, they're supposed to be sitting in the body along with the members. And every other member of the council who's not a pastor, they should not be sitting in the front where the the general council sits, because the general council has no part to play in the General Assembly. During the General Assembly, the general council is not even supposed to be sitting up in the front. The men are not sitting there because it's a service. You're supposed to be sitting in the body. The body of the General Assembly is made up of all the members that represent the congregations of the organizations. Other members that are in the General Assembly are supposed to be men that are elders. And yet, even that portion of the General Assembly of the Constitution has also been amended. The question is, did the people amend that? According to the Constitution, no, the people did not. The Constitution had, before 2022, all the elders are to be a part of the General Assembly, but they weren't. Again, to your question. So you are right to ask these questions because what you're seeing raises valid questions. And if you're seeing things that moves you to ask a question, well, my question is, where do you ask those questions? And the answer is, we don't have a place for those questions to be asked. So with that in mind, we are left with individuals asking questions by any means that they can ask those questions. Getting back to the secretary, the general counsel, they say in the General Assembly, to vote for the General Assembly secretary, the call is made general counsel only. Why do they say in the General Assembly for the general counsel only to vote for the General Assembly secretary? Because the general councilmen are going to select a man from the general council to be the General Assembly secretary. Because the General Assembly secretary is over the General Assembly. They're seeing to it that the people do not put a member in that role. So by the general counsel putting a general counsel member in the seat of the General Assembly secretary, then now they get to control that also. According to what's been practiced over the years that other people are saying that they're seeing. Is it right? Well, other people will have to come and let the organization know what their findings are when they see these things taking place. Does the Constitution give them that authority? No, that's not in the Constitution. So what is it that we're seeing? We're seeing the General Counsel, the group of men who's appointed by one person, who's being given roles and responsibilities and obligations and activities to carry out by that one person, who's constantly being talked about. And here it says they work to protect that one person as well as the works of the organization. And that council is seeing to it that they put a General Assembly secretary inside the General Assembly. So that now the secretary and the council are working hand in hand. It seems. And if the general counsel has discovered a way to control the General Assembly by putting men from the council in the position of the General Assembly secretary and the assistant, and they can work hand in hand, then another question that's asked, which it seems to me would be accurate, are they working hand in hand on behalf of the people, or are they working hand in hand on behalf of one person? And if you look at the Constitution, it seems as if these two positions, council member, General Assembly secretary or assistant, it seems that those offices work hand in hand to conduct the business of one person who's giving them orders. And for those of you who are not paying attention, whenever the time comes in the General Assembly to elect a General Assembly secretary, this is to answer your question why you hear the one person say how pleased he is with the General Assembly secretary. They're pleased with this person. I like how they've conducted their business. I'm satisfied. I'm more than happy with this person. Why do they say that right before the election? It seems that they're putting the word out for that person to be put back into that office. So you might see the same person serving in that seat for years and years and years. Why? Because it seems like the word is being put out to put them back. What I want is for y'all to put them back. Now, again, it's not our place to determine that, but it does look that way. When you look at the practices and the history and these questions coming in, again, these are very, very, very valid questions. So, in the event that the General Assembly Secretary and the Council is working hand in hand in order to control the General Assembly Secretary's office and the Assistant General Assembly Secretary, for them to continue carrying out instructions or orders from the one person, then who represents the people? Then you may say no one. And the question is, well, isn't the pastor representing the people? But when the pastors go to the General Assembly, are the pastors standing up to represent the people by bringing concerns of the people forward to the General Assembly? And the answer is no. Whenever there's a vote to be had, are the pastors standing up to ensure that the members, the people who representing all the members of the organization, are the pastors seeing to it that they understand this procedure and what is going on? Doesn't seem it. Are the pastors standing up on behalf of the people to make sure that the laws are being followed, that the Constitution is being conducted the way it's supposed to be? It doesn't seem it. So what pastor has stood up to defend, take care of, protect, or speak on behalf of the members? And people are saying this. I'm saying you have not seen that. The pastors are not standing up in the General Assembly to say anything in defense of their congregations on behalf of the members. We don't see that happening. So when it comes to the valid question, are the constitutions valid? Again, you have to say no. Because if the pastors are not standing up, if the council is not standing up, and we see according to the Constitution, the council is not supposed to be in the General Assembly in the first place. So why are they there? Because according to the supreme laws, it looks like they're there for one purpose: to protect an individual and to make it appear as if this whole thing, well, is set up the way it's supposed to be set up. Council's supposed to be in the front. No, the council has no place in the General Assembly at all, according to the Constitution. And this is what people are reading. And this is why these questions are coming up. So what I'm saying last week about questions pertaining to how the organization is being governed is a very big deal. It's a very big issue. So when you see these things being pushed These things being referred to, these things. And you see all through here that the council's going to do this, the council's going to do that, and rule after rule after rule after rule that the people did not agree to. The people did not agree to this. The people did not agree to this. There's no platform where the people ever voted to accept or receive this. There's no platform where the people ever voted to agree to receive this. There's no platform where the people ever voted to agree to receive this. There's nothing whatsoever that says that the people, according to the laws of the land, are to be held accountable to these publications. Nothing. And the way that these books are carried out is because the letters that come from the one person that goes throughout all the organization, and the order is given to read those letters every single day. My order, my order, my order. What I'm saying, what I'm saying, what I'm saying. Those orders are such that says, I'm going to check with the council. I'm going to have the council enforce. I'm going to have the council look at. I'm going to have the council take care of. You have to go see the council. You have to sit before the council. You have to check with the council. Why are they given so much authority over all these people if this one book that the people supposed to have say so in does not give the council that authority? If this book does not give them that authority, and the people never ever voted on these books, then where does the authority come from? This is why it's important for the people in every institution, in every organization, to read your literature, to understand your own laws so that you can understand how the organization is supposed to be governed and not fall into a situation where you're just following along with the crowd. That's how we got here. Everybody following along with the crowd is how we got here. Nobody questioning anything, nobody saying anything, nobody taking concerns to the pastors or to the chairmen or to the councilmen or to the bishops. It would be interesting to see what any of them have to say to answer these questions. These questions should be reported to them so that they can have the opportunity to answer these questions, to show the members, no, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Let me show you why. It might look like that. It might seem like that, but that is not what's going on. And let me show you. There needs to be in every organization transparency from positions of authority. And the members need to have in every organization the opportunity to go somewhere on a regular basis to have protocols set up to where people can have their questions asked and then answered. If you expect a group of people to comply to rules that we say they are to be enforced upon the people, then should the people not also have the right to question the individuals over them who's enforcing these rules on them? And that's where the law of the land comes in and says, yes, the people have a right to question. The people have a right to have say so. The people have a right to vote on things. The people have a right to have somebody speak on their behalf. All of these are very valid questions. But so far, we don't have any of these questions being answered, with the exception of here. So when you look through these books, which is why this book keeps growing and it keeps changing without one meeting being held with the people. This book sometimes is changed without any input from the people. And this book is also changed at times without any input from the people. But here's a bigger problem. Whether you knew it or not, now for those of you who are reading the Constitution and thoroughly examining it, the members of the organization had no idea that from time to time, this book was also being changed without any knowledge of the people. And this is what the people are talking about when they say, how can a book be printed up before the actual meeting where the people are supposed to vote on the changes to be added to the Constitution? This is why they're saying, are they actually valid? And that's what makes it invalid. So when you look at what's in the Constitution, and when you look at what's in all of these books, the question, the final question is, well, has any of them been valid? And for those of you asking that question, it seems that the answer is no. Not one of these books have been valid, validated, or ratified by the members of the organization. Ratified means that a law has gone through due process. That law has been examined. It has been deliberated. It has been discussed one at a time by the people for them to be able to hear different viewpoints, different perceptions, and how does this law impact us? How does this law change what it is that we're doing? How does this law make the things that we do better? The people will talk about the law in that capacity. And if they like the answers that they're hearing, then they have the opportunity to put to a vote whether or not they want to pass that law or reject that law. If they pass it, that's called by majority vote ratifying. And that vote pushes that new law into the document that governs the organization. Now the document has been amended with a new law. Now they can begin to enforce it because it's been thoroughly examined, it's been thoroughly discussed, it's been voted on, and that means it's been ratified. It went through due process. If it has not gone through due process, if it has not gone through the procedures of amending lawfully a governing document, then when that document has been amended, the document now becomes invalid because it's full of it has laws in it that the people never agreed to, that the people never consented to, that the people never had given that particular change due process. So if the Constitution itself has been invalid, well, what about these books? Now, lastly, one more thing, Constitution of 2022. The Constitution had the order of precedence pin in it. The order of precedence now inside the Constitution. What that does is the implication is being made by those who made the changes that these two books are now indirectly an extension of the Constitution. By putting this here, the Constitution has just been expanded indirectly to include those two books. Two books that the members have no control over. Two books that the members had nothing to do with. And the members are also under the governance of this book. So, how did all of this come to be? By dealing with a group of people who were never taught the laws, the governing process, or how rules are supposed to be amended according to not just the laws in the organization, but according to the laws of the land. Now, people want you all to believe that we're making this stuff up, that it's just a fabrication, that all the things that we're saying, we don't know what we're talking about. So they would lead people to believe that they should not adhere to nothing that it is that we're saying. And I'm not telling you to listen and accept what I'm saying at all. I'm telling you to ask questions. I'm telling you, go to the individuals in these positions and put the information to them. Ask them to explain to you how the order of precedence got placed in the Constitution. Ask them to explain to you how the auxiliary bylaws is now a part of the Constitution. Ask them to explain how the supreme laws is now a part of the Constitution. Ask them to explain how is it that the body of members are being held to this book. Ask any of them. That and 100 more questions that we could come up with right now on the spot to ask them. The point that I'm making is all those questions are valid. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. And there's so many other things that we can point out with these 4 books. We can point out so many other things that the members of the organization are not aware of. And if we look at the letters and memos, so much more can be pointed out that would draw questions that would need to be answered. So, with this fellowship tonight, am I drawing attention to conclusions? No, these are not conclusions at all. These are things that I'm saying we should be asking. And not just here, and I want to show my appreciation for those of you who are posing those questions, who are sending emails and text messages and phone calls. I want to say that we appreciate it. Who's passing on questions to other individuals to ask also on your behalf, because it allows us to share with the members this information that perhaps many of them are thinking or hearing as well. I got over says at one time, we were able to get a copy of the latest letter from the bishop. 100%, absolutely. There was a time when pastors would make copies of the letters and sit them on the rostrum, and people were able to take a copy for themselves at will. Any given night of the week, and just go and get a copy. Now, no more copies. Nobody can make copies anymore. I have a stack of letters from them, from the leaders. I have, some of you still have books. We have books of the letters from the leaders. So we have those. There's a blue one, there's a white one, there's a red one. And then in the Truth and Facts, and then in the Grace magazines, like I said, our literature, if you read it and you understand it, it'll blow your mind. So we're not going to talk about, I'm not going to highlight the Sunday school book tonight. But going through it, you all would be amazed at the information that is inside this year's Sunday school book. People could take it and draw 1,001 questions out of it. What does this mean? What does this mean? Why is this here? The scripture doesn't say this. It doesn't say that. Where does this come from? Can you explain this? Can you explain that? And these, again, questions should be asked to the leaders. No one should feel that you can't ask a question to the leader. I know that the leader of the congregation, the leader of the groups, your choirs, bands, auxiliaries, ushers, willing workers, queens, security, anybody should not feel that you can't ask a question to the leaders. And if that means going up the chain to deacons and elders and pastors and chairmen and council and even the bishop, you should be seeing and experiencing an open door type atmosphere. Like you see in businesses, we have an open door policy, meaning we welcome your questions anytime. We welcome you bringing your concerns anytime. That's what it should be. And looking at this literature, it raises a lot of questions, is what I'm going to say. So again, I'm not going to highlight that tonight, but at some point in time, we may very well be talking about the Sunday school books. It's a lot. So with that, I got over says, why do they want the names of people who purchase a Sunday school book? It seems as if quite a few things have been done. Well, let me just say, someone said that they feel intimidated when they go to desire something, get something, want something, do something, ask something. They feel intimidated. Others are saying that that's the purpose, to intimidate, to instill fear. I'm going to say I don't 100% know that that's what they are doing. There may be a slight chance that that's not the case. Is there a strong possibility? It does appear that way, that the intent is to intimidate with this notion that we are controlling who accesses certain information. And we know who you are. That's what it looks like. Some people say that's what it feels like. Unfortunately, what I'm saying is, even though it looks and feels that way to some, there's a slight chance that that might not be the case. And in order to know, it would be best to ask the pastors, to ask the chairmen, ask the councilman, ask the leader, right? Many have said that no one is talking. Nobody's answering any questions. Some people have said that they've been labeled a troublemaker. Some people have lost their positions. I know of, I don't want to go into people's personal situations because I don't want people to know who I'm talking about. And I don't want people to assume that those people are doing whatever with us. So when it comes to the idea of certain individuals, um, it appears that there has been things done to remove them, um, or penalize. And some have written about it. And I haven't shared yet because of certain things I still need to get confirmation of. Um, but that's what it looks like. So, yeah, why would somebody need my name in order for me to get a Sunday school book? Why would anybody need my name in order for me to get a constitution? Why can't I get a copy of the letter coming from headquarters? Why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? So much control is being exercised right now. So um, all we can say is keep plugging at it, keep trying, keep making attempts, but more importantly, just keep waiting because we know that things are being done as far as his traveling around the organization. Again, I will say they're going to continue doing what they've been doing while we're waiting for outside regulating agencies to direct our attention on which direction to go from here. Um, but all we can do is wait. If we get the notification, they made the decision, boom, uh, things will happen again so quickly after that. In the meantime, we continue to wait. I continue to implore you to enjoy yourselves, enjoy time with family. Uh, don't let anything bother you. Take care of your needs, take care of what you have to take care of. Um, if you're still in support of anything whatsoever inside or outside the organization, make sure that you're always taking care of yourself. You're always taking care of your obligations and responsibilities. Um, at home, your bills, your needs, mental, physical, psychological, spiritual, as well as your children. I said it again, I will say before, parents, take care of your children, put him beside you. Right now, you want to postpone anything involving the 17-year-old children and younger until you know for yourself that it's not going to come back to bite you. Certain things, it looks like, may require certain other agencies to begin to inquire things of people that are parents and why children were either put or allowed to do some things or to end up in certain situations. So I can't say it any plainer. With that said, are there any other questions or comments from anyone? Are there any other questions or comments or additional statements from anyone? If not, then that's all I have right offhand tonight that I wanted to cover. Um, uh, I don't know where he is. For those who wanted to know, right now, I do know that they're preparing up north for a visit this coming Saturday and Sunday. Other than that, the following week, again, he's scheduled to go out Saturday and Sunday. Lastly, let me say excuse me, This coming Saturday, this coming Saturday, um, we we started Bible study yesterday in the 66th chapter of Isaiah. I forgot to mention that we have um, a function that we're going to be doing Saturday afternoon. I don't want to end up not getting back in time for us to have the study and then tell you all the last minute that we have to postpone. So let me say, as it stands for now, we will not have Bible study on Saturday. We have a function that we will be attending. Everything is the same for the remainder of the weekend. Um, but Saturday afternoon, we will not, as it stands, be having Bible study. If we are able, if we are finished with the function, if we get back in time, then just like I ordinarily would have called the Bible study off, say, well, we can't do it. If we're able, then I'll jump on and we'll go ahead and go from there. But as it stands for right now, there will be no Bible study on Saturday. Um, that in mind, uh, Frankie says, well, I found out today that he has popped up in Columbia and some parts of North Carolina. Well, right, right. And again, what I was saying earlier for other members is they don't understand. They simply don't understand why he's going from here to there. Why is he popping up in all these different cities? Not having services, he's popping up during services. No one knows that he's going to be walking through the door. And then when he's there, he's only there for a few minutes and then he's gone. And he doesn't say a whole lot of anything, maybe 5 to 10 minutes of talking, then he's gone. Um, Even if he was there longer, it still does not make sense that he's popping up all over the place. Um, so, absolutely, thank you so much for sharing. I only heard of Columbia on Thursday night and Charlotte on yesterday, but I was not aware of any other spots that he had gone to. I'm not aware of any places that he's going to be going to this week other than heading up north for Saturday and Sunday. So, once again, thank you. We appreciate you sharing that with us. And as soon as we know more, you all will know more. Some of you might be wondering, well, why are y'all this? Why y'all that? Because people want to know what's going on. And people want to know also what's happening and what's going on with the leadership. So we continue to hope, we continue to wait, we continue to rise, we continue to enjoy every single day our Heavenly Father gives to us with our lives, our health, and our strength. Um, we hope that you all enjoy the remainder of your evening, and we hope you all enjoy the upcoming week. With that said, everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next weekend. Until that time, have a good one, everybody.